This is New York City Center. It's a landmark in New York City. It's a theater that is 2,750 seating capacity with 4 small studios and with a 12-story building.
It's owned by the city of New York. It has been since 1943 when Mayor LaGuardia saved it from being demolished for a parking lot and turned it into a performing arts center. The Alvin Ailey Dance Company is here every December. American Ballet Theater does a short season here. It's really known as a dance house. But we do musical theater, and we rent the theater out to a whole variety of groups. Spent 2 years in construction, and we completely redid seating and sight lines for better audience comfort. We restored the historic paint scheme and a lot of infrastructure work, which nobody ever sees, but is very important to the running of the building.
The challenge behind this project is the scheduling. We have a very tight schedule, and we have a lot of trades working. So the coordination was really very tight.
We retrofitted it and added an extra chiller, plus the 2 Trane chillers that we have behind us. At the same time, we added some airflow stations on the air handlers and CO2 sensors on the return and the space at the theater, which controls the CO2 volume in the area.
We integrated everything into one central chiller plant, and of course Trane controls through the BMS operated most of that.
For the big theaters, they use the big chillers to do the job. For smaller theaters, minimum demand, they use the small chiller.
One of the big improvements in energy efficiency was the small chiller, which allows us to run a 100-ton chiller most of the time, except on hot days and full house situations. Then we run the 360-ton. The Trane controls allow us to switch back and forth and control both of them. Doing air conditioning in a dance theater particularly is a very complicated problem because audiences want to have it cool and dancers want it very warm on stage for their muscles. Of course, the 2 spaces are connected by a huge wide open proscenium, but nonetheless we try to control them as if they were 2 completely separate rooms. We installed sensors throughout the auditorium at audience level and on stage at performer level, so we don't monitor or control temperature by the traditional method of looking at the return air temperature. We look at the actual temperature the user is experiencing in the space. We also get lots of different kinds of feedback from the BMS, which helps the engineers monitor everything. So it's such a complicated problem. But once we set up some basic parameters for a particular kind of performance situation and the size of audience, it runs pretty automatically.
Because the system was balanced properly, the dancers who are performing on the stage and the patrons who are viewing the performance felt better, comfortable.
In the past year, we have had just almost 0 performer and audience complaints. It's pretty amazing.